guys, Preacher 357 here. A few weeks ago I did a review of the new Canik METE MC9, or as I called it, the METE. So I got lots of comments saying it's not METE, it's METE. And you guys are just a bunch of killjoys because I enjoy saying METE, but I don't know if I can keep calling this the METE because there is another gun made by Canik that's supposedly a subcompact that's a lot more meaty than the METE. And that is the TP9 Elite SC. And that's what I have right here. There's a lot of similarities between these guns, but there's there's some differences as well. And this is a lot beefier gun, and yet they use the same magazines. And that's really what got me interested in looking at this gun as well, the fact that it used the same magazine as this one. And so I was really curious as to what the differences were, how they were set up differently, and how it was that this gun could use the same mag as this gun, whereas this one is clearly a lot smaller gun, as far as thickness goes especially. Now the grip length is about the same. The slide length is longer on the TP9 Elite SC though as well. So I wanted to do a little comparison and look at the two guns and just see how similar or dissimilar they were, and try to understand a little bit better about how the METE MC9 can be so much smaller and yet still use the same magazines. And I wondered if they were just interchangeable. Could you just flip them back and forth between one gun and the other, or was there something different about the base plates that made that not possible? So I was just curious, and so I thought, well, why not do a comparison? Why not get a hold of the TP9 Elite SC and just look at them side by side, shoot them side by side, and see what I thought about it. So before we do anything else, why don't we go inside to the cleaning table where we can take a little bit closer look at the two guns and really be able to compare the size, compare the thickness of the polymer, the thickness of the slides, and do all of that. So let's go inside and do that right now. All right guys, we're in here in the shop at the cleaning table now. And here is the METE MC9 and the TP9 Elite SC. And we'll do just a little bit of comparison between the two, just so you can see what the differences are between them. And obviously, size is the main area that we're concentrating on here. Rather than just giving you the specifications off the website, I do have my calipers here, so we can actually do a little bit of measurement ourselves. But we'll just compare them first, just by putting them side by side. That's obviously an easy way to compare. And I think you can see right off the bat that the TP9 Elite SC, which is this one, is wider and it has a longer slide. That's without a doubt. When you put them right side by side, it's very easy to see that difference, especially when you turn them up on end. I think you can see from the rear how much wider you're looking at. Both slide and frame now, not just the slide, but slide and frame here between these two guns. You see there's different texturing on the back straps and on the sides as well. The sides look about the same, but on the fronts and the backs, this just has some raised bumps on it, whereas this has the stippled sort of feel to it, just like the sides do. I don't notice a lot of difference between it myself when I'm shooting, but there are a few differences there with regard to that. You can see that the METE MC9 looks very similar. I mean, the TP9 Elite SC really still, the way the contour of the slide, the way it looks in the back, it still very much looks reminiscent of a Walther P99, which was what the Caniks were originally based off of. They weren't exact copies, but they were very similar, the way they operated, the way they looked. But with the METE MC9, with it being scaled down even more, it looks a little less like a Walther than the TP9 Elite SC does. And so if we put the calipers on them, we'll see that the width, I'll choose right here with the controls, is 1.46. If we get around the slide where the controls are not, I'm getting 1.109. Whereas with the METE at that same spot, you're looking at 0.97. So, you know, the width of this is less than an inch without the controls. When you factor in the controls, it goes up to 1.14, which is roughly, I think, what they list on the website, but that's where the controls are. And so that's really not the section that you feel when you put it in your waistband so much. But the slide itself is really only about an inch thick, whereas you have this one, which is much, much thicker. So this is a very slim slide on METE MC9. They've scaled it down quite a bit. But when you look at the length of them, length of the grip, it's pretty much the same, which is not unexpected considering they use the same magazines. Using the same magazines, you're probably going to have about the same length because the magazines are going to seat the same way in both guns. So if you had a much longer grip in this, then you would have a problem. Or a much shorter one in this one, you would have to have a larger base plate to make up the difference because your magazines are the same. But, you know, the grip length on this is just about right, I think. I don't see any reason for it to be any shorter, really. Now, there are some guns with shorter grips. Obviously, the Glock 26 has an extremely short grip on those little rascals, but they're probably a little too short. They're a little too stumpy. Another thing about it is when you look at it this way, you can see how they managed to make the frames so much smaller on these guns. There's a lot less polymer on the frame here for the magwell. You can see how thick the polymer is here versus how thin it is because the slot in the middle where the magazine goes has to be the same size because they use the same magazines. Yet you can see how thick the polymer is, which means it doesn't give. It's very rigid. Whereas with this one, if I really were to push it, I could push those sides in. And in fact, when I first got the gun, the sides here on the MC9 were bowed inward a little bit, and I don't want to push them in that way. I think you can see it flexing maybe a little bit there when I do that. I don't want to do it too much. Because it's so thin, it does flex, and it was actually bowed in, which was causing the magazines to not drop free. So in order to fix that problem, I went and did some redneck engineering, and I got my wife's hair dryer, which I'm sure she didn't like me doing that, but got the hair dryer and brought it out here, and I heated up the polymer really good and got it as hot as a hair dryer will get it, which is about all I wanted to do. You could use a heat gun as well, but you got to be careful with a heat gun because they'll get it a lot hotter than a hair dryer, and depending on what wattage, what kind of heat gun you got. And I didn't want to melt the polymer. I just wanted to soften it up a little bit. And then I took one of these screwdrivers here, which is just slightly larger than the opening here, and I forced it in there after I got it good and hot, let it sit there until it cooled all the way down, and then pulled the screwdriver out, and it opened that magwell up a little bit, where it's no longer bowed. Now it's pretty well like it's supposed to be. And as a result, I've got this gun here is clear. There's nothing in it. I'm going to release the striker because this is a loaded magazine, because that's what I was having trouble with, was loaded magazines not dropping free. So I'm going to just load the magazine. Obviously, it's not loaded in the chamber. And now you'll see it drops free. So, problem solved with regard to that. But with the TP9 Elite, let me put it in the right way, I never had an issue with that at all to begin with. It always dropped free because there was, the magwell had not been bowed inward on it. And, I don't know that all METE MC9s are bowed inward like that. Just make sure I didn't chamber around. No. But this one was. And so if you have one that is bowed in like that, just heating up the frame there at the bottom where the mag weld is, just a little bit with a hairdryer or whatever to soften it up just slightly, and then using something that's slightly larger to push it outward until it cools will solve the problem. Really easy fix there. But the problem is with the polymer being so thin, you could easily push it back in again if you were to hit it with something or whatever. Now, obviously, if the mag is in there, it's probably not going to cause that to happen. So I don't think it's a big problem, but it's something to keep in mind. And that could probably be easily cracked if it was dropped or something along those lines. But that is how they managed to make this gun so much thinner in the frame. Now, how they managed it with the slide, I don't know exactly, but, you know, you don't need the slide to be that thick, I don't reckon, in order to chamber a 9mm. 9mm is not that big of a round. And so they just made the slide as big as it needed to be. The slides on these are obviously larger just because you had the larger frame, I'm sure, is a lot of it, just to match the frame up with the slide so that the two are the same width. And so as a result, when you have the different magazines, you've also got different base plates. You can see the base plate on the TP9 Elite SC, which I guess they're on the wrong side here, is much bigger than the base plate for the MC. And you see MC9, you can see it says MC there. But these are exactly the same magazines. There's no difference in these magazines whatsoever, except for the base plate they put on. So I could take this base plate off this one and put it on here and vice versa. But that's your difference. Of course, we'll see on the range if they work, you know, swapping them out between the two, because maybe that base plate is different enough that it causes them not to work in the other gun. But we'll see about that when we get to the range. Of course, it's the same with the 15 round magazines. You can see how much bigger the TP9 Elite SC is than the MC9. So there's your differences. And we'll, I don't have a way to measure the length of the slide. My calipers won't open up that large. So I'll just put down the slide links here based off of what it says on the website, and I'll just post that on the screen. But you can see, you know, the difference between these two guns. It is sizable. Of course, you can see there, both of them have the striker indicator, because this striker has been cocked, though it's empty. And the striker on this one is not cocked. So that's an easy way to see the difference in the indicator there. And they have different sight pictures because they have different front sights on them. The rear sights are very similar, but they have different front sights. And so they have different sight pictures, but both of them are pretty good. Neither one of them are night sights, though. So if you wanted night sights for this gun, you would have to buy the night sights for them. And I'm really not sure if this dovetail is proprietary or if it's the same dovetail as another brand of gun. That's something I'm not sure of. But anyway, it's time now to get them out there and do a little bit of shooting now that we've kind of compared and contrasted the two. So let's get back out to the range. All right, guys, we're back out here on the range now. And I think you can see the differences between the two guns now. And you just kind of wonder why no one thought to do what they did with the MC9 before to make them thinner. Because, you know, it looks like there's very little effort was made to make these guns here thinner than they were. But I guess the coming of the P365 just changed everything. Changed the way people thought about how thick a gun that was a double stack had to be. And so people started brainstorming in ways they hadn't brainstormed before. Also, I think you saw now that the problems I was having with the MC9 with the mags not dropping free, that is solved now as well. So that one hang up I had with the MC9 is not so much of a hang up anymore. But you know, if you saw the shooting that I did at the first of the video, where I put them on paper, the groups were very, very similar between the two. Now, the groups were terrible, but that was just me. My shooting was horrible when I shot that. And maybe it's because I hadn't shot in a couple of weeks, because a lot of things have come up and I really hadn't been able to get out here to the range very much. So maybe I was just a little bit rusty, and maybe I knocked the rust off a little bit, but the groups were pretty much identical in size. And, you know, even if it's me shooting, if one gun is superior than the other, you would expect to see a little bit better group even if I'm not shooting well. But, you know, I can't tell a whole lot of difference. Now, the front sight on the METE MC9 here is a big white dot, whereas the front sight on the TP9 Elite SC is a small fiber optic. And so you get a different sight picture. And I don't know which I like better. You know, the MC9, that big white dot is easy to acquire, but I think you kind of get a little bit better, more precise sight picture with the TP9 Elite SC. Which is better? I don't know. I guess it just depends on what you like better. I don't think either one of them is designed to be a competition gun, though they both have really good triggers, and the triggers on both of them are almost identical. I mean, one may reset a little bit shorter than the other. I want to say the MC9 had maybe a little bit shorter reset. I'll have to check that out again, but it wasn't by much. I mean, they were practically the exact same trigger, and you know, any differences are probably just the difference between one trigger and another, rather than a difference in design. I don't think there's any difference between them in design. So all that's left just to get them out here and do a little shooting and see which one I like to shoot better. Because that's really the question. If you're going to look at one of these Canik models as a gun that you're going to carry, you know, that's what it's going to come down to. It's going to come down to, do you really want the more narrow gun to carry inside the waistband, and that's the most important thing, or do you want the most shootable gun of the two that's still concealable? Because, you know, the grip length on both, which is what's the most important thing when concealing, is pretty much the same. So both are going to be about as equally concealable. One's just going to be a little thicker in your waistband. Does that make enough difference to you if you like the way the TP9 SC Elite shoots? I don't know. But that's what I'm going to try to determine today, which one I like the best. And this is going to be a hard thing to come up with, because I really like them both. I really like shooting both of them. I took them out here, well, a couple weeks ago, I guess, and shot both of them side by side. And I couldn't come up with a winner then, because I really like both of them. I really do like both of these guns. Now, as far as carrying goes, there's no doubt in my mind that the MC9, the METE, the gun formerly known as METE, that it would be my choice, because it feels a lot better inside the waistband to me. And that's the way I'm going to carry it if I carry one of these guns. So this would be my choice of the two, but that may not be your choice. But let's just see which one we like shooting the better. So let's load up a few mags here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to load up these mags, and I'm going to shoot the MC9 mags in the TP9 Elite SC, and I'm going to shoot the TP9 SC Elite mags in the METE MC9. Now, I kind of wonder why they make these names so long. They're not just called it like Bob or something, or, you know, something simple. No, they've got to make these long names that take forever to say. So we're going to switch it up and try the magazines of each. And I'll go ahead and tell you, I've already tried it, so I already know what it's going to do. And I bet you probably do already too. So I bet you already know what's going to be the outcome of this test. But we're going to do it just the same. Just to prove it, just to put it on video, so there can be no doubt. Because I'm sure that's what everybody came here to find out. And you want to see it with your own eyes. So here we go. With some loading here with my Mag Lula, my Up Lula loader, because I prefer it much more than the mag loader that comes with them, which is kind of like the ones that come with the Glock. I can't stand those. Some people like them. I'm not one of them. I can't stand them. Very vocal about that. All right, here we go. The METE MC9. And I'm shooting it with the magazine for the Canik. TP9 SC Elite. And you can see right there how it sticks off. The base plate is wider on the mags for the TP9 SC Elite in order to line up with the frame of it. But they still fit in there just perfectly. So let's do a little shooting here. We'll start out over here on the red plate. See if I can get anything with it. Maybe I'm shooting a little bit better now than I was when I put it on paper, because that was terrible. Maybe not. There we go. Well, I think I nicked it. Yeah. There we go. That was all she wrote for that. Well, not too bad. I've definitely done better. Well, had a hang up there, and when I racked it, it ejected the first round that fed in. Now this mag here, maybe it's because of the smaller base plate, but it's a little bit loose in there. Don't know if that's a problem. But just to say, you know, base plate definitely not designed for this one. It's smaller than the frame. Let's see if it makes any difference here. Go back over here to the red plates. Well, I touched him. Well, I got that one too, all right. See the water flying up. We just had a storm this morning. Still water standing under the cowboy where I've dug out a trough underneath him. All right, let's try these bigger magazines here, these 15 rounders. Once again, you can see the one for the TP9 SC Elite is larger. Doesn't seem to cause a problem though. Well, let's go here, cowboy, not the 35. Turning on me. This ain't helping me with my terrible shooting right now. All right. Once again, MC9 15 round magazine in the TP9, I'm sorry, the MC9 15 round magazine in the TP9 Elite SC. Dance a little bit out there. They feel a lot alike. I mean, even the recoil impulse is very similar. You know, I would think the longer slide of the TP9 Elite SC would really mitigate some more of that recoil, a little bit heavier. But I can't tell a lot of difference, honestly. I mean, it may be a little bit more recoil in the METE MC9, but just shooting them side by side, it's not something that I'm noticing. I'm gonna go back to shooting the right mags though now, because it is a little bit, you can feel the difference, especially with the TP9 Elite SC with those smaller base plates for the MC9, I can feel that they're smaller there, and it kind of annoys me a little bit, but they do work, so we do know that for a fact now. Let's just load up a couple more mags for each, and we'll shoot those and be done with it. I think I've made the point I wanted to make, that they're both really good shooters. And honestly, because of that, I would definitely prefer the MC9 as a carry gun. I don't think there's any doubt in that. But of course, there's different people out there who like different things. But you know, I kind of wondered how the subcompact double stack market was going to be. You know, what was going to happen with those guns with the popularity of the P365. You know, would Glock stop making the 26 because they were making the 43, or you know, of course the 43 is a little bit bigger gun in the grip. You know, the Glock 26 is a stubby little grip on those things, so they can seal really well even though they're fat. You know, or the same way with you know, the Shield Plus, for example. Because they're making the Shield Plus, would they get rid of the M&P 9 Subcompact, or which used to be the 9C? You know, would they get rid of that gun? You know, I don't know. There may still be enough people that like the fatter double stacks that they're going to remain popular enough to stay in production. Of course, the good thing about those is, with most companies, is that if you have a Glock 26 and you've also got a Glock 19, you've also got a Glock 17, the 17 mags will work in all of them, and the 19 mags will work in the 19 and the 26. You have some mag compatibility. Whereas with your with your micro double stacks, or stack and a halves, or whatever you call the P365, you know, those generally have proprietary magazines until you get to the Canik. And so, you know, with the Canik, if you've got the MC9, you've got a magazine that's the same magazine basically as the larger double stack Caniks. You know, the TP9 SF or the SA, you know, those same magazines. So, you know, if you've got those magazines, they'll work in your MC9 because it uses the same magazines as the larger double stacks, as we've seen here. So, you know, in that way, with the Caniks, it almost makes the TP9 Elite SC a little bit obsolete, I'd think, you know. But then again, as I said, everybody has their preferences. And there may be some people out here who just can't stand these guns. They just think they're too thin, they don't like them, they don't feel good in the hand, and they want that bigger subcompact. My dogs are going crazy, but I don't know what for. But it don't matter. Let's just do a little bit more shooting. I'm going to go out here to 100 yards. See if I can hit anything out here. Oh, I saw that, and that's way off. I didn't see that one. No. I think that went high, didn't it? That went low. I heard that one. I think it was just a little bit low. I heard that one. A little bit low. Yeah, hard to get the range out there. Hard to get the range. Now let's try the same thing with the TP9 Elite SC. I was having a little bit better time out there at distance with this one the other day, and maybe it's because it has just a slightly longer barrel. I don't know. Well, let's just try it. Yeah, I said I did the other day. There it was. I can't see where these are going. All right, that was a little low. I can't see it. Still low. I heard that one. Hit on the last round. Just going up and down, up and down. One's too low. I come up a little bit and I don't see anything. So I come down and It's too low. But yeah, I've had better times shooting out there at distance. I'm gonna try the TP9 Elite SC again. I'm gonna go over here and one at 80 yards and see if maybe I can do something with it. I saw that one. Not seeing where a lot of these are going. I saw that one. Saw that one. Never did get the range. I danced all around that thing. I guess it's safe to say that neither one of these is a long distance firearm. All right. Come down with it. Saw that. Too low. Not too far that direction. I don't know how that went that far off. I may just be getting tired. I think I skipped that one. I aim up a little bit more. Well, not having any luck or any consistency either. And that may just be me. As we saw when I shot the paper earlier, I just may not be steady today. Some days you got it, some days you don't. And it looks like today I don't, so it is what it is. But my verdict is the same. It's exactly what I thought it was going to be. They're both great guns. They both feel good to shoot. But, you know, if you're buying a subcompact, you're buying it probably to conceal. You're buying it to carry. And otherwise, you just buy a full-size gun. So if I'm going to buy a subcompact, I'm going to buy one to carry. And if I'm going to buy one to carry, I'm going to prefer that it be slimmer so that it takes up less space in your waistband. And, you know, in this case, the METE MC9, the gun formerly known as METE, is my choice. And I still haven't decided. This may end up replacing my P365 in my carry rotation. I don't know. I haven't decided yet, but the number one thing that's preventing it is that I don't particularly love the holster that came with it. And so if I'm going to carry this gun, I'm going to have to buy a holster for it. That's the kind I like. So I don't have a holster yet I really like for this. So because of that, I'm continuing to carry the P365 instead of this. But the METE MC9 is a great gun, but so is this one. And really, it's just up to you which one you like better. Because you can conceal either one of them. They both shoot really well, despite how poorly I shot today. They've got great triggers on them, and I think either one's going to make an excellent choice for you. And I have had 0 malfunctions with this gun. I think I had 1 or 2 when I first got this one out of the box, but have not had any since. It just needed to be broken in a little bit, I guess. But even that, it didn't have to be broken in much. Those were just in the first mag or 2. Then after that, it's been flawless, and this one has never missed a beat yet. So I feel both of these are extremely reliable firearms, and I wouldn't hesitate to put either one of them on my waist and carry it with me. So there you go, the battle of the Canik Subcompacts. I'm declaring the METE MC9 the winner here, but the TP9 Elite SC is a strong second. So anyway, guys, appreciate you coming out. If you will, check out the description in the video. There's a link there for the TFA, the Tennessee Firearms Association, where you can join up if you live in the state of Tennessee and get in the fight here in our state. We've had a lot of shenanigans going on this year. I was really hoping we would see some good pro-gun legislation, but because of some things that happened and the media circus that's happened. We're now fighting again these red flag laws in this state, which are unconstitutional and are nothing but an attempt to get around the Second Amendment. They'll be abused by our government. We know they will be. And so we're fighting that. So if you would get in the fight, if you live in the state of Tennessee, join up with the TFA. There's also a link there for a discounted membership to the GOA, the Gun Owners of America. And you can get in the fight on the national level there. Of course, the GOA also fights here in Tennessee as well. So if you would click those links, join up, get in the fight. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you coming out. God bless you. Y'all take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time.